Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report IndyCar fans for an off-season edition of the IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe and Dave Chanley. There's big news in IndyCar racing, but before we get going on that, guys, I just want to say that I'm very thankful to Roger Penske for, after buying the IndyCar series, not being more interested in his own team than he is the overall health of the series, which is an all-time high, and I'm also thankful about that.
Yeah, you hit it right on the nail. I think we're really in a point in IndyCar right now where we're obviously going to get into the silly season moves and all the hirings that happened. But man, you look at the cross of sport, and some of these drivers for every organization, top to bottom, has somebody that can really, really impress, which is not always common in IndyCar.
I agree with both of you, but my take is really we have a great ambassador with the 500 winner, Poe. He has been everywhere, doing everything. Hats off to both Roger and to Fox, because they're really selling this series this off season.
All right, guys, the big news: Mick Schumacher is in officially with Rrahal-Letterman Racing and adds a huge talent to the IndyCar series, and an even bigger name to the IndyCar series, and this may give the series a little bit more international appeal, and I think that's a pretty big deal, Elijah.
I think it's probably one of the biggest IndyCar signings in probably the last 10 years, just based off the name alone. I would argue that Mick Schumacher is a bigger name than maybe even 3 or 4 current Formula One drivers if they made the move to IndyCar, just because you'd be damned to find any F1 European fan who doesn't know the name Michael Schumacher and Mick Schumacher. And being at RLL, I think, is going to be a great opportunity for him to get involved in the sport. And I'm really excited to see him on these road courses. But what is he going to look like on the ovals? Overall, it just brings so much excitement to the sport. And I couldn't imagine a better offseason hire for RLL. They absolutely nailed it.
No doubt.
Absolutely. 100% agree again. He is going to be phenomenal. RLL just benefits from this, but more than that, IndyCar benefits from that signing.
That's right. That's the biggest thing.
And it's going to be interesting to see. In Formula One, he obviously didn't have the most successful career, but he was also with the Haas team that was miles and miles behind these other opponents, and he really didn't have a fair shot to stack up against these other Formula One drivers. And I think him being in IndyCar, I'll be interested to see what he can do. He's really going to bring a whole new perspective of fans over to IndyCar, and that's what we want in general. We see these IndyCar races every week, and we look at the metrics and numbers, and even though those they really don't matter in the long scheme of things, eyeballs on the sport and any hype we can get around IndyCar is going to be great for the sport.
We know that Mick Schumacher's a talent. All you have to do is watch a little Formula One to see that he's a very talented race car driver. The question is how talented he is, because I'm not sure we know that answer from his stint in Formula One. We know he's not his dad, but like Elijah said, never really got a shot with a first-rate team. Who knows what would have happened? And Formula One, it's all based on the equipment. Maybe he is a great talent, maybe he's not, but we're about to find out in this series.
Absolutely, and I would predict that him going to RLL is really going to boost RLL racing. It is just a great thing for them. They've got a good team already. They just need to get over the top.
And kind of going off that, you look at RLL's lineup next year, and they're pretty scary. They just signed Louis Foster again to a multi-year contract. Who was the Rookie of the Year last year. They're bringing in Mick Schumacher, who's had Formula One experience, who has had 3 WEC podiums, and they've also got Graham Rrahal, who seems to be inevitable at a few road courses every single year. Other than the big top teams like Aaron McLaren, Ganassi, Andretti.
You're missing one, Elijah.
For what?
They have a 2-time IndyCar champion, or Indy 500 champion on their team as well. Takuma Sato.
Oh, for Indy, yeah. But long season.
I know, but I'm saying he adds his his experience to that team as well.
Yeah, he does. And just like you said out there, I mean, what a great lineup for a team that is really. I think this lineup itself can really move them into that upper category of teams. Maybe crack the seal and be kind of like an Arrow McLaren here.
Rrahal-Letterman's going to have to be better.
They are, but maybe they have the tools to do it now. Maybe they have the missing piece. I'm sure the engineers there have just perked up and said, wow, we've got to get this going. I'm excited for it.
I also have to say, former Penske engineer and former Arrow McLaren IndyCar team principal, Gavin Ward, is set to actually join Rrahal-Letterman-Lanigan. So that's an absolutely huge move for them to have him. Really, they have made some of the biggest offseason moves other than Andretti and Penske. I can't imagine a team that is more well-prepared for 2025 other than Ganassi.
I would agree.
I've always been a big fan of the Rrahals, and I love Graham. I love his personality, and I'm not sure he's quite lived up to the talent that we thought he was early on in his career, but we've seen some of it in the last few years when he's had equipment that's been good. He's been competitive at times. This should help him as well, I think.
I think it's one of the things that it just helps the team totally. There are now 4 for the 500. As you mentioned, Takuma, what he brings, not only in talent, but the fans that flock around that. They love Takuma Sato. And that's now 4 great drivers put together on the same team with the transfer of the engineer. Man, I just look and say they're going all out to try to be a formidable opponent.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm especially excited to see Mick get on some ovals. I know RLL released a statement that they're going to have Mick on some oval testing here soon. I'll definitely be looking for those numbers because if he's able to kind of put it together on the ovals, we know he's going to be skilled on the streets and road courses, but if he's able to compete on the ovals as well, we might have just another contender for this IndyCar series, which already has a handful of contenders.
That paddock is going to have Bobby and Graham Rahal, Mick Schumacher, Takuma Sato, and still none of them are going to be the most famous person in that paddock as long as David Letterman is still around. So,
well, can you imagine if you're just walking up and down the garage area at Indy with that team? There is going to be a flock of people just standing around waiting to see that group.
And I hope they can figure out their Indy issues. They've had, obviously, Takuma is always going to be there. He is Takuma Sato. But other than Takuma, they've really struggled in Indy the past few years. And it would be great to see that team turn itself around and really be competitive. Any car that is going to have a shot at winning the Indy 500 is going to benefit that race. And if they can mix in their cars with Arrow McLaren, Ganassi, and Penske and Andretti, that's a handful of teams right there that are really, really competitive, which would be amazing for that race.
Absolutely. And I also say, I think some of the other teams have kind of strengthened themselves in the offseason.
Talking about strengthening, we could get into Ryan Hunter-Reay being announced as the 4th Arrow McLaren driver for the month of May, which is an absolutely massive signing for that team.
We're going to talk about some open seats and some other news and rumors coming up here in just a second. I just wanted to say that you said that Rrahal-Letterman has struggled at Indy. That's only half true, of course. I think Schumacher might be the favorite to win the Indy road course, right?
I would imagine. I know he tested there in that RLL car, and I think he was only bested by Kyle Collette, but that was the first time he'd ever hopped in an IndyCar. And so being that far up in the podiums, I would love to see at least somebody beat Alex Palou because, man, he has dominated that road course.
Well, I had forgotten it. Greg, I'm glad you mentioned it because when I was speaking Indy, I was only thinking of Indy 500, not the road course. Yeah.
And Rrahal-Letterman has, since they started that road course, has been good there.
Yes.
on the road course. But Indy really struggled since Sato's last 500.
And I think it's a testament to just how good Sato is, where that team can be absolutely nowhere, and every day in practice, he's top 3. He is just unbelievably rapid. You guys see the lines he takes in practice. He comes off that turn 2 wall, and he's not even barely a centimeter away from it. He is just an animal.
Then last year, he finished in the top 15 in the series in laps led.
Wow.
With one race.
With one race.
That's unbelievable.
Ryan Hunter-Reay as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a good move for Air McLaren, and I would argue they've got Christian Lundgaard and Pato O'Ward on that team, but I would put Ryan Hunter-Reay on equal shot to win the 500 next to Pato in that car.
I certainly wouldn't say equal shot with Pato. I think you go into the month with Pato number 2 or 3, but you certainly like to have a second shot at it that Ryan Hunter-Reay gives them, and he certainly proved that last year, leading laps with Dreyer and Reinbold at the Indy 500 with all those huge teams, the smallest team that there is.
He would have come out in first of that pit cycle if they didn't have a fuel problem, ahead of both RLL cars and Palou and Ericsson. So he was well on his way to win that race if they didn't have a technical issue. And we obviously have known how good he is at Indy, and what a great addition for McLaren to pick up somebody who isn't like a huge name outside of IndyCar. They did Kyle Larson these past 2 years, but with them going to Ryan Hunter-Reay, I think it really tells people that they really want to win this race.
It's just all in for the whole, not only the team. I just say this is another great thing for IndyCar, for Fox. It is just great. It brings another former champion to the test. It was another great hire. And I will say this, over the course, maybe you guys will agree or disagree, but over the course of the entire season last year, Christian Lundgaard was one of the most improved, I think, of the entire series.
That's true. I'll be interested to see how he can do at Indy, specifically. Obviously, he was super new to ovals last year and these last couple of years as a whole, and hasn't really been able to get that down. But we saw him those last couple races on those ovals be pretty competitive. Obviously, Indy is a different monster, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him up there.
All right, Elijah, what of Connor Daly and any other less important news and rumors that you're hearing?
Well, I really do think that Connor Daly, all signs are kind of pointing to him being back at Dreyer and Reinbold. Obviously, we know he's got that connection with them. He's ran for them in the past at the 500. With how things are going, he could maybe end up in that last seat at Dalecoin Racing. I'm not sure how much budget is going to be needed for that car, or who else is in really talks for that seat other than Connor Daly and Jacob Abel. But man, I would just love to see him back in a full-time ride. But regardless, we can at least expect to see him at the 500. That's a fact for sure.
For sure, and I'm with you. I hope he gets a full-time ride.
And I hope if he's an Indy-only driver, I hope he gets a better ride than Dreyer and Reinbold. No offense, Dreyer and Reinbold. I hope he gets a good ride. You would think that someone would give an extra seat to a guy with an excellent chance of winning it, as he's proven the last few years.
I could also see maybe Andretti reaching out. We know Marco's not going to run again. And, they always run 4 cars, but there is another solution, or a person in that seat that might be available for that weekend, depending on how the schedule falls. Colton Herta might actually be available for that race in the 500. So if he's able to do that with his Formula 2 schedule and being in IMSA at the same time, if I'm Andretti, I think I have to pick Colton over Connor Daly.
That would be great to see Colton come back even for one race. I really liked Colton Herta. I've liked him ever since he's been on the circuit. He's just a solid driver, and that would be just another great name to add to Indy 500.
Guys, just 94 days until the cars take the streets of Tampa for the first practice.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
I think that with everything that Fox has done in year one, I'm especially excited to see what they're able to do in year two, that they've got a year under their belt. The crew has a year of IndyCar experience altogether. And that's going to be fun to see just the sport grow as a whole, because even talking at this podcast, we've talked about how many new faces are coming to IndyCar. So I'm really excited to see where the series goes.
I am as well. I just think as the year wore on last year, Fox just got better and better as it went, and I think they have really, really made a commitment to this. And with that kind of commitment with Fox, with all their resources, with their money, I think this thing is just going to blow up and become one of the great sporting events to watch. Not just the 500 itself, but just all of IndyCar.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Thank you so much for listening. Truly thankful and grateful for all of you. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.